Don't you ever just look at someone's store from the outside and say, wow, this place looks amazing. And then once you step inside, you actually know that this guy for a fact knows what he's doing. But then you hear this voice in your head that keeps saying that you can do better. And it's absolutely important that you listen to this voice in your head. So you get back to your store and you're reminded that you have a store that absolutely sucks. And our journey begins of turning this ugly shack into a mega store. And if you think this is interesting, please leave a like and subscribe. And before anything begins, I just want to say that I did play this game before, so I know my way around a couple of things and maybe a few tips and tricks. With that said, I won't be doing the tutorial anymore. What I do have though is a relatively cheesy strategy where I only sell furniture at the start of the game. And this strategy involves getting rid of everything in your store. And by everything, I mean everything including the walls. And by everything, I mean everything including the grass. And you'll see the reason why at the top of our screen. And that completely settles all of our money needs at the start of the game. All we need now is a basic layout of the displays and of course a cash register so we could start selling these things. It's actually been quite a while since I last played this game and these tools and equipment look relatively new to me. Anyway, we'll be buying our first pieces of furniture. I'm not really sure how much we need to buy, but I'll just get as much as I can and just start delivering these things. But before we forget, we actually need one of these unloading docks to unload our packages. It actually doesn't have to be connected to a room or anything for that matter. It just has to be there for it to work. With that all set up and done, I think it's time we order our furniture. And I might have overestimated how much I could carry at the moment. Since I don't really have any employees yet at the moment, I'll be the one running the supplies. And it's at this point in the game where it turns into a driving or drifting simulator, however you want to see it. But what do you mean it's a drifting simulator? Well, you just gotta see. It's just a scratch, don't worry about it. I might have bought too much furniture at the start of the game, but I don't think it's exactly a big problem. We're gonna restock down the line anyway, so we might as well have it now. Alright, that's the first trip done out of maybe 20 or 30. We might as well get employees this early because I'll be running the supplies and I won't be around to run the store. Well, here goes nothing. It's time for our next trip. But I think we should stock our shelves so things are running while we're away. I guess a shortcut wouldn't hurt. It's just a scratch, don't worry. I'm back, give me some boxes. Is that really all I could pick up? Well, it's not looking good, I'll tell you that much. It's gonna be a driving simulator for a little bit. Well, I think we're gonna have to dig through our entire small furniture supply before we actually get to our large furniture. So I guess no large furniture for maybe 10 or 20 trips. Well, we're definitely not getting a lot of people, but we're gonna need a lot more if we want people to buy our furniture. So we might need a lot more parking spots. 4 parking spaces should do the trick. Well, happens. You know, I don't think that parking spot is coming anytime soon, but we do have a lot of deliveries at the moment, so let's go and do that instead. Honestly, that wasn't so bad. We only needed to do one trip to get that parking spot that we didn't quite get the last time. But the job's not quite done yet. We have a lot of deliveries to do. I know we don't have the budget yet, but let's see which trucks are realistic for us. The pickup truck is just not clicking anymore. Well, I think the Sprinter van seems to be the most realistic at the moment, and we're gonna try to gun for that for our next local goal. Well, that's unfortunate. I think it's about time we consider getting a janitor. Alright, we added 2 more trash bins. This should keep everything neat and clean around our place. And it's time to get our janitor. Alright, and we shouldn't forget about the dumpster. Our janitor needs this. Well, we've overstayed our welcome. I think it's time to restock. Unfortunately, the job's not done, my friend. Don't worry, I think the truck's fine. I've been pretty careful with it, so I don't think it's breaking down anytime soon.
Are you sure about that?
I'm actually wondering if we could do some instant deliveries, but I don't think we have quite the storage for it, so we're gonna have to pass on that. We finally have enough money for our Sprinter van. I think it's about time we say goodbye to our old truck friend. Ah, yes, we finally got it. Honestly, every trip I made on that truck, realizing that I have to go back just makes me feel ill or something. Man, does it feel nice to get things done 3 times faster. Don't worry, we'll treat it with as much care as we did with our old friend. Well, it's been a while. I believe that's a good sign that we're getting deliveries done much quicker, but I think we're due an upgrade. Okay, I think that should do the trick and it should allow us to drop off even more items. Looks like we hit our storage limit again. What a nice problem to have. Finally, we hit the bottom of the barrel. And that should be our last trip for a while. I guess money go up at this point, but we'll keep an eye on our storage. Let's see if we're gonna need to restock anytime soon. Alright, an additional parking space so we get more people browsing. But I think we're running out of stock. Seems like we're out of furniture. It's time for a supply run. Trust me, I didn't take the shortcut this time. It's just one trip, right guys? Well, now that we've got our van upgrade, I'm thinking about getting some shelter for everybody. And I think it's about time we move on from our cheese strats into something that looks at least functional. So I guess we just stay here until we get enough money for a decent renovation. Alright, I think I have a decent amount of money. Let's see how far this can get us. I don't want to get too optimistic about this amount of money, but it should be able to get us going again, at least sell our small furniture again. With almost everything gone, I think it's time to see how far we can get with this much money. There were necessary budget cuts, so we don't have any windows at the moment. Let's just add those back later on. Oh, and also we shouldn't forget about the trash bins. And I think we've got decent coverage inside the store. Let's also get a fancy door for a janitor just because we can. Well, it looks like we're out of stock. It might take a while to see our money hit 5 digits again. Well, I forgot to mention, since we were a little strapped on cash,
I decided to remove the roof since it wasn't really that necessary.
oh I may or may not be in trouble, but I'm not gonna lie, I'm in trouble. Well, what do you know? It brings you right back. We finally have money to spare, so it's time to get our roofing done. Well, that wasn't so bad, and I'm glad that we have enough money to deal with other things, so let's get the lights done. And maybe a security camera for extra security. I think we should skip over the driving scenes. I think we're all done with that. Our store is looking a little tasteless at the moment, so maybe we should do something about it and sprinkle some love all over it. And by love, I mean some bushes and flowers. Honestly, the sprinkles didn't look bad at all. We'll probably work around this later on. We've got a decent stack of cash at the moment, and it's gonna get better once we get a finance rep. We're gonna have to quote-unquote help our people afford the furniture we're selling. Well, it looks like our dude couldn't get in, so we'll be rearranging a few things. And everything should run semi-smoothly, but we still don't have a manager, which I think is pretty essential at this stage of the game. I mean, we could still do what the manager does, but I'm heavily considering at this point, especially since we're gonna get even more items later on. Well, it looks like we've got another fat stack of cash, and I think we could do with a room for our storage and the manager. Oh, you thought they were gonna be separate rooms?
Well, no, I think we could just have the manager sit with the boxes.
And since we want to show our employees that we deeply care for them, we're gonna be adding a potted plant and some lights to our offices.
It's important that they know we care for their well-being.
Well, I also put down a spot for a delivery driver so that I don't have to do any more of those dreaded supply runs. Well, now that we're out of a job, well, now that our hands aren't tied to our backs anymore, it's finally time to think about some expansions. We're definitely doing a multi-level store, of course we are, but we'll be adding a little bit of a twist. We won't be following any exact patterns, but honestly, it's just better to see, so stay tuned. I'll be showing you guys what I'm gonna do with this place. Well, we've done and settled the employee path, but I don't think we'll have enough money to finish up everything, so let's see what we can do with the amount of money we have right now. Well, it looks like that's about it. We'll just have to come back to this later. Hello again everyone, now is later, and we're gonna be continuing our build. So for the outdoor section of our build, we'll be using some glass railings, mainly just because they look really nice, and for an outdoor area, this is exactly what you want. The initial area that we allocated for this is a little too small, so we'll be extending it by a little bit. I think we've got a decent pattern going on right now, and I'm gonna push through with this with the rest of my builds. Well, just because. I did say I want them to be a little random, but it helps to have these persisting patterns. Alright, we just have to place down a few more edge pieces to finish up the roof, and we should be ready to welcome everybody to this part of our store. And never forget your essentials, ladies and gentlemen. Always put down trash bins, especially in your new areas. Well, I'm not sure about you guys, but I often forget about these trash bins. And lights as well, so maybe on that matter, let's put down some lights. Alright, so far everything's looking pretty good, and I think it's about time we put down some shelving and start selling some things. Well, this is a store after all. Alright, and since we're selling exercise equipment, I think we'll need 3 1x2s and 1 2x2. Well, I guess we'll just have to wait a little more. I don't think I could place this down just yet. Well, I think the display should be good, but we're gonna need to stock these up, and I don't think we have the money at the moment. Actually, we don't even have enough money for the railing, so I guess we'll just give it a while. And just a few more things to do before we start welcoming everybody up here. Well, we don't quite have the money to restock these things yet, but we'll be seeing results later. Well, we've got a crazy amount of money after playing a few games of Aram Mayhem, but we're gonna do something even crazier. Well, that should mess up our finances for quite a while, but I think it's a necessary change, especially for a growing retail store. Well, we've got a bunch of space up here, so a checkout counter doesn't seem like a bad addition, and it should speed things up a little more for our customers. They no longer need to go down to make a purchase, since the only counter previously was downstairs at our main area. And I think we should keep going with the upgrades. We're gonna work on our next section or area or whatever you want to call it. One thing's for sure though, I want this to be an extension. And by extension, I don't just mean an additional place. I want it to feel like it's the building extending outwards. Maybe like arms or legs, but that feels a little too creepy. And I think we could make a connection here from our recently made expansion into this one that we're currently making. And let's outline it first with some concrete and put down some railings later once we're ready to actually make it. And by ready, I mean by getting things out of the way. I don't think this stretch is covered by trash bins that I recently placed, so we're gonna have to place down some new ones, and hopefully these stretch into our new area. First things first, I want to apologize. I've been playing too much League of Legends and I actually AFK'd for too long. I now have 22 grand, 21 grand, and this is way too much to work with, so let's just get started. Let's get started with a simple visual upgrade. We added 2 supports just to make it feel like it's actually load-bearing or something. Just make it feel a little more realistic. We didn't quite finish the railings last time, so that's exactly what we'll be doing now. But we will be going all the way because we actually want to finish this build. I think it's missing an open area right at front, so we're going to be adding that. And we add additional stairs because we also want this to be accessible on the other side of the store, not just on the right side of the store where they have to go through the equipment, the gym equipment area. Alright, we just finished up the pathing even downstairs, so we're gonna get started with the walls. While I did say I want to keep a consistent pattern for these walls, I kind of just inverted it so it feels a little different despite copying the same pattern as the previous one. I really enjoy yapping about my design choices. Please don't judge me. Well, anyway, I'll keep yapping about it because that's just me. Anyway, we could finally afford windows for our build and it feels so good just to have the money for it and things just look significantly better with windows. Windows. I hate to admit it, but our store is getting pretty big, so we're gonna need some security cams to help out our security guards. And finally, I think it's time for the displays, but I forgot how much I need. Well, I guess we only need 4. We've got a bunch of space left over because we only needed 4, so maybe we could get this checkout counter down here. I mean, up here. Well, it took quite some time to settle with a layout I'm happy with, but we've got something pretty nice going on here, and all we have to do now is set it up with some game tables. Alright, everything is looking great and the path loop looks fantastic. While we do love our employees here at our retail store, we also have to show love to our customers, which is why we're adding these mobility scooters.
To help them buy more things.
Well, anyway, we left it out for a little bit to get some more money, and I think we've got a lot to work with now. But there's one thing I think we'll be needing now that our store is growing. And that's another auto upgrade. We're gonna need a bigger truck because we're gonna be supplying even more things. I think the large box truck is something we should set our eyes on. I mean, the electric one looks good, but it carries the same amount for, I think it's 20 grand more than the large box truck. So I guess we'll just have to wait a little more so that we could afford it and finally go back broke again. But right now, I don't think it's quite the right time to get it yet. So let's go for some expansions and maybe work on a second delivery area because, well, we're getting an additional truck, which means we could also get an additional driver, which will be very good for us. Well, it's nothing special. It looks exactly the same as its other counterpart right beside it. But we won't be putting lights inside this time. Since I don't think we're gonna be needing it, we don't have a manager sitting down inside there. Well, I guess that should be it for our next storage room and we should be good to go for the rest of our playthrough. Unless, of course, I miscalculated the asphalt I needed to make space for the new truck. But if that's the case, we'll just have to expand it. I also think we could do with an upper level extension. I just want to get even more height on my building, you know. Build vertically instead of horizontally. Oh, well, that's unfortunate. Well, apparently we can't put walls down here. Uh, we can't put walls up here. So I guess we'll just have to ditch the idea. Alright, the wait's over and it's time to get that stupid box truck. I forgot what it was called. And we finally have it. Let's fix that up real quick. Alright, that looks perfect. Everybody do what it says. Man, I just bought this truck and this other dude at the store just one-upped me. This really sucks. But that doesn't matter because we're getting someone a new truck. Congratulations, Rachel Anderson, you've been promoted. We'll also get another delivery driver because we have a spare van. Well, unfortunately, I did see this coming. But fortunately, I did see this coming. Well, a quick expansion should be able to deal with this one. And you get half the amount back if you sell the grass. And voila! Crisis averted. Well, since we've recently expanded, I think it's also time we built another, well, structure for our store. And one thing I want to give more attention to is financing. I think we only have one financer at the moment, or finance manager, and we're gonna need a lot more if we want to sell a lot more. So we'll be keeping things simple, but we're actually gonna make use of windows now that we have money for it. Well, now we don't have money for it, so joke's on me. See, the wait wasn't so bad for you watching this. And I did mention it's gonna be a 2-story building, a 2-floor building. So we'll be making an area here where we can sell appliances. So you see, our store's been selling a lot of furniture. I think we're selling all kinds of furniture. So what else would you need for your home? And you need appliances, especially if you're just starting out or starting to make your home. Man, do I feel like a nerd. No way I thought about all of that. Well, anyway, here's a door. Alright, that should be long enough. Everybody should have forgotten about it already. So the build got a little tricky at this point because, well, the colors are way off. I didn't exactly match the colors under the building, and I did go for an extension here, and I'm not really sure what to do with it. But not to worry, this is not a problem for me. So we settled for a pattern up top so we could start working on our finance center at the bottom. I think we have a problem here because 2 tables are definitely not enough. So I think we're gonna have to extend this building just a little bit. Alright, I think it looks pretty good. All we have to do now is add these edge pieces and play a little bit of Tetris with our tables. Well, we've got 3 in, and we definitely could work with a 4th, but let's see if we could find a layout I'm satisfied with. Well, I think this is pretty decent already, and we only have to sprinkle a little bit more love into it. So we'll be getting some greens and maybe some flowers around. And there you have it. That's our finance office done. It's not yet connected to the actual store, but I think we could do with some more parking space upgrades before we get to that. Well, unfortunate for us, we could only afford 1 extra parking space. And we've connected the area to the finance center, but I don't think we have any trash bins around, so we should quickly deal with that. And there we have it. I think we have full coverage now. Oops, almost forgot about the lights. Never forget about the lights, guys. And I guess it's time to move this guy out from his corner. Oh, sorry. With the finance center done, I think it's time we finish the appliance area. Since we've got a lot of leg room in this area, we'll be doing both type of appliances, small and large. Well, we've stocked up the large appliances already. Wait, I don't think I should have done that. I don't think I'll have any money left in a moment. So let's quickly deal with these shelves before our manager starts ordering everything. Oh man, I guess we'll just have to wait then. Unfortunately. No way it actually does this to me. I'm $5 short, come on. Maybe I shouldn't have messed up the first time, but anyway, I think we're done with this area. And maybe we'll just put down a checkout counter once we have the money for it. Which probably isn't anytime soon. Welcome back to your favorite store. We actually got a few upgrades. It's not really a huge upgrade. I didn't change anything too substantial. It's just additional parking spaces. The parking spaces, however, are not filling up as much as it should, but we should be fine because I just started the game up. And you probably noticed us expanding to the right side of our store. Well, that's because I'm thinking of making another building solely for other supplies adjacent to home needs. So no, I don't think we're gonna need another finance center, but we will need a lot more things to sell so we get a lot more money. Since we're expanding the store, I think we could do with a couple more parking spaces. I mean, we could probably accommodate even more people after this expansion. Alright, sick. 2 additional parking spaces. So we'll be selling a couple of things. One are the home goods. I want to be able to sell every single one of these, and I'm gonna dedicate a whole floor for it. And every single electronic. So there's a crap ton of things that we have to do. Which is why I'm starting right away. Well, I think the size is pretty decent. Maybe we could fit all of our shelves here for our home goods. Well, no better way to know than to actually do, right? I think I probably messed up the layout because I'm missing a couple of shelves. So I think we have to deal with that immediately. Well, we've got some free real estate right up against our front wall, so we should probably use that. We also have to get rid of this checkout counter so we can get more shelves down. And I think that should be it for everything. I guess now we just have to make sure we've got trash bins covering the area. And it's pretty amazing we also got some greens down. But I guess it's time to stock these up. Cool, that's all of them stocked up. And let's not forget about the lights, since people are actually coming in now. And a security camera to top it all off. And now it's time for the second floor, specifically for the electronics. We're gonna be adding windows on the second floor, so we might as well add some windows on the bottom floor as well. Jesus Christ, that took a long while, but we do have our second floor now. And after a few trash bins, we should be able to shelf this place up. But I do have my doubts that this would be enough space for all of the electronics, so we'll be preemptively putting a door down here. I guess a balcony wouldn't hurt anyone. I'm not sure what kind of layout I'm going to be going for, but let's just leg it, you know. Alright, that wasn't so bad. We've got everything lined up already, but I don't think we've quite got everything yet. God damn it. I think we're gonna run out of money very soon. Well, it seems like we won't be able to afford our extension. Well, I can't even afford the railings. What am I to do? But we are selling a lot of huge items, so maybe we could sneakily buy a few things here and there. Well, I'm not about to wait for money to stabilize, so we'll be using this strategy for the meantime. 10 minutes ago, I said this was gonna be a balcony. But me 10 minutes ago was pretty stupid, and we're not about to put display cases outside for electronics. You know, it's been 3 minutes, I might ditch this idea and just wait for money to go back up. But you know, we have the money now, so we might as well. The admins are in my walls, they're probably listening to me. Alright, we have successfully traversed the endeavor. God damn though, I think we made a pretty decent store. I mean, it used to be a tiny shack with nothing in it, but... well, we did reduce it to absolutely nothing, so technically we did start from nothing. Alright, that should be our last upgrade for now because we've been expanding a little too fast. And let's take a step back to see how far we've gotten. And I think we've gotten pretty far. Honestly, I just tried to stay away from the brick-shaped malls that are just pretty much big boxes. And this is what we ended up with. I think the pattern looks great. Alright, I think that should be it for now, but I don't think the journey's quite done yet because we still got a lot to do.